Everyone, let's welcome the author.
Very good evening, all of you. It's my pleasure to announce the arrival of our chief guest for the evening, the author of Rama of the Axe, and a dear friend of mine, Ranjith Radhakrishnan. A big round of applause, please. And over to our dynamic MCs for taking it forward. Avni and Ranjini from our book club. They'll take it forward from here.
Okay. Welcome everyone. Welcome our lovely audience. Welcome to the 5th meeting of the Hyreadabad book club, or like we members like to call it, HRC. So today we have a lovely meeting, a meet and greet with the author of Rama of the Axe, the epic saga of Parashurama, Mr. Ranjith Radhakrishnan. So today we'll be speaking with the author. We'll be having some reviews of the book from members of the book club and some fun activities for the evening. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy your evening. Handing over to Vineet to explain our book club, its inception, its vision, and how we plan to take it forward.
Welcome to all dear members, colleagues, senior members of the Secunderabad Club. Your presence has really encouraged us at the Hyreadabad Book Club. Today marks a special day of our book club because it's the 5th meeting of our book club, and we have the author of the book that we are discussing amongst us, which is something we never imagined, and we are very excited about that. So at the book reading club, we have a vision to encourage and nurture a safe and informal space to bolster one's passion for reading. Our vision is to revitalize the passion for books that has shaped most of our childhood through dedication and free flow of conversation. Whether you are a seasoned reader or just starting to dive into the world of literature, we are just thrilled at the opportunity to ignite your ever-curious minds. I am sure there is no one in the audience who hasn't grown up reading the various tales of Enid Blyton, Harry Potter, Agatha Christie, and Sherlock Holmes and whatnot. Books, as my dear friend Jehan says, who's also a member of the book club, he says, books are conversations that transcend time and space itself, teleporting us straight into the minds of revolutionalists, academicians, messiahs, or even a mother. Through their perspectives, we hope to delve deeper and leave no stone unturned on our literary journey into the mysteries of life. The Secunderabad Club Library is no stranger to that passion, with over 55,000 books ranging from non-fiction to vast collections on vintage lithographic bird paintings, books on birds. There couldn't be a better venue for our book reading club to have this event. It is our pleasure, privilege and honor to be in this august institution, to be having this wonderful, wonderful meeting, and we can't thank the club more than this. If the audience will permit me, I would like to paraphrase great lines by Kafka that embody the essence of our book club, and I quote, "I think we ought to read only the kind of books that wound or stab us. If the book we are reading doesn't wake us up with a blow to the head, what are we reading for? So that it will make us happy, as you write. Good Lord, we would be happy precisely if we had no books, and the kind of books that make us happy are the kind we could write ourselves if we had to. But we need books that affect us like a disaster, that grieve us deeply, like the death of someone we loved more than ourselves, like being banished into forests far from everyone. A book must be the axe for the frozen sea within us. A book must be the axe for the frozen sea within us. That is my belief," unquote. I am very proud of our book club, which is about 20 in number, of this eclectic group of members from various backgrounds, unique experiences with diverging mother tongues, opinions and views of life that allow us to truly have an enriching experience at our book reading meetings. However, there is an invisible thread that binds all of us together. This is the thread of passion to regain the lost habit of reading. Books are like friends. They should be few and well chosen. While we strongly discuss and encourage contrary opinions, we more strongly respect each other's opinion. As someone rightly said, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend till death your right to say it. My beloved book club members and lovely audience, I welcome all of you, and thank you once again, Mr. Ranjith, for being a part of it. So these were a few words about our book club. Thank you very much.
We need to come back on stage and welcome the gathering here.
I would like to recognize the presence of various dignitaries who are here, the various past presidents, the present managing committee members, library subcommittee members, and also the presence of Kavita, an author herself. We'd like you to stand and recognize you for that. And we have a great gathering here. Senior members, we also have the Vice President of the club here, Sharat Chaudhary Garu. We also have one of the co-founders of Manthan, M.R. Vikram Garu amidst us. And it's an absolute pleasure to have all of you. So I would like to recognize each one of you, all senior members. Welcome and thank you so much for being part of this.
I'm really short, so I'll have to pull the mic down. I hope you can see my head. Yeah. So thank you, Vineet, for the wonderful introduction and the heartwarming welcome given to this August gathering. The book club has been a welcome addition in all our lives. I'm sure all my fellow club members will agree. And it gives us a chance to connect over marvelous stories and analyze them. In this process, we have all made new social and intellectual connections. These, we hope, will continue to fire our quest to read great stories. So without any delay, let us get into the exciting part of the evening where we get acquainted with the author and his stories.
So before we invite the author on the stage and talk to him about his book, here's an exciting teaser video of the book, which is filmed right now.
fantastic visual introduction to the epic saga, may I please invite Priya, our fellow book club member, to please come up on stage and introduce the author to us.
Good evening, esteemed ladies and gentlemen. Today I have the great pleasure of introducing a new author to you all, Mr. Ranjith Radhakrishnan, the author of Rama of the Axe, the epic saga of Parashurama. This extraordinary piece of literature hit the shelves on the 22nd of June this year with an initial print of 10,000 copies, and to everyone's astonishment, it was sold out in merely 2 days. And now we are eagerly awaiting the impending third print, set to grace the shelves in a couple of weeks. And there are talks of this adapting this captivating story into a comic book as well as a movie. So let's hear a huge round of applause for these incredible achievements. Now, what sets me apart from the other introducers here tonight is that I happen to share a very deep bond with the author himself. He is none other than my elder brother. So as you all know, it falls upon the sister to ensure her brother's good and proper upbringing. So I took it upon myself to guide him in his studies, alleviating any academic pressure from my own shoulders. I meticulously maintained his textbooks. Their pristine condition were maintained so that I could use them the following year. Most importantly, I made it my mission to help him foster his love for reading, hoping it would keep him from meddling in my own life. I took great care of his health, allowing him to indulge only in basic necessities, keeping all the delicious treats for myself. So any goodies, snacks, everything would be polished off before Ranjith could even get his hands on them. Furthermore, I cultivated his skills to become a responsible householder, made sure he paid the bills, he went for the groceries, he did all the running around, maintained a clean home. You see, I spared absolutely no effort in molding him into the man he is today. However, being a man, there are certain quirks and idiosyncrasies that one must endure. For instance, his consumption of numerous cups of chai every day. And he also exhibited a rather suspicious interest in my female friends and classmates, although I hope that phase is now in the past. Moreover, he possessed an intense reluctance to engage in conversation, often resorting to a mere inarticulate sounds per day. Nevertheless, despite these peculiarities, I knew deep down that writing was his true calling. Over the years, he dabbled in various professions, from selling credit cards to managing toll roads. Yet I always had an unwavering belief that his exceptional talent lay in the realm of writing. So finally, I'm pleased to announce that he has heeded my advice and embarked on this literary journey. And the results, of course, speak for themselves, not only today, but from the moment his first short story on Shakuni was published in the esteemed anthology Unsung Valor. His second publication was an absolute masterpiece, an extraordinary poetic rendition on the life story of Shandulya Dhuta. And I'd also like to express my gratitude to him for bestowing our book club with such a magnificent name. You can see it's Hyreadabad, very close to Hyderabad. So only such creative minds could come up with all that. And I also wish for him to continue fearlessly on this path, breathing life into our ancient stories through his remarkable writing. And of course, I implore him to always heed the wise words of his sister. Thank you for your attention. And thank you, my dear book club members, dear Vineet, dear Jahan, Ranjini, Avni, whoever isn't here today, Saumya, all of you for making this possible for him and for all of us this evening. It's a proud moment for me as a sister and for all of us together as a family. Thank you all.
Thank you, Priya, for the wonderful introduction for our guest of honor tonight. The stage and the evening are all yours, Mr. Ranjith. May I please request our founder, Mr. Vineet, to accompany the author to the stage. We thank you for your time and your presence here to tell us the journey with Parashurama and his epic acts. The stage is all yours.
Good evening, namaste. I am surprised at the turnout today. Any author would give an arm and a leg for so many people to come for his, you know. So many people to listen to a debut author and on a Saturday evening. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much. So I was told I need to give a speech yesterday evening after I landed in Hyderabad. If I had been told in Bangalore, I wouldn't have come. I tried to wiggle out of the situation. I obviously failed. So then I started to think about what I need to talk about today. And since I'm a stranger to most of you all here, maybe the journey as a writer would be of some interest, which is when a line from my book came to mind. Remember the beginning. And I think the beginning of my journey starts with Mata, Pita, Acharya. And I think I was very lucky there. The school I studied in, the teachers were wonderful, especially my English literature teachers. I think their passion for literature, for reading, for writing rubbed off on me. And I had ample opportunity to read. Both my parents, my father and my mother, were avid readers. English as well as Malayalam literature. I don't remember a time where there have been less than 600, 700 books in my house. We used to have 4 newspapers a day, 2 in English, 2 in Malayalam. All the magazines of that time, India Today, Outlook, The Week, used to come home. And we were members of all the libraries we had access to. I don't know if you guys have it in Hyderabad. There used to be something called a mobile library in Bangalore, which was a bus. It carried books and come and park in certain localities. We were members there too. So I read a lot. I also read the books my father said I'm not supposed to touch. I read them too. But the writing was not so prolific. I did write a little bit for school magazine, sometimes for Priya. But the inner self-critic was so strong that whenever she used to tell me that, you got to write, I used to just brush it off. So all this changed during the lockdown. So my wife and my son were stuck in Chennai. I was in Bangalore. There was nothing much to do. And I came across this tweet that was asking for submissions of short stories on the 18 days of the Mahabharata war. They had a list of characters and you had to pick one and describe one day of his life in the war. So I went through the list and I thought Shakuni was a safe pick because nobody else would choose him. He's known as a very cunning, scheming guy, but not as a warrior. But he falls only on the 18th day to Sahadeva. And on the 11th day, actually manages to beat Sahadeva. So I thought I should write about this. I did, and as always, my first reader is always my mother. I showed it to her. It was around 8,000, 8,500 words. And she liked it. And she told me to send it to Indic Academy, who were organizing this anthology. And I didn't. Luckily, she remembered 2 days before the deadline. And she said, what do you have to lose? Just send it across. I sent it, and a week later, and I forgot about it. 10 days after that, I get to know that I've been selected for this anthology. And what's more, it's going to be published by Bloomsbury. So that was the start where I looked at writing a little seriously. So I kept writing. I got selected for 2 more anthologies after that. And that's when the story of Parashurama, the desire to write a novel, grew. And I set about writing this. But still, that self-critic was still there. I wrote 5 chapters. And I sent it across to my mother, to my sister, my wife, couple of cousins, and I waited for feedback. It took me some time to figure out that the feedback, the review my wife was giving me was not really about the book. It was about how her husband has behaved the previous 2 weeks. So that took me some time to figure out. But the thing was, if I didn't submit a chapter in, say, another 10 days, a fortnight, I would get WhatsApp messages asking me where's the next chapter. So this kept me writing. It was almost like, I was serializing the story for a magazine. I had to submit something. So I finished writing this in 10 months and then started the search for a publisher. Nothing worked. All the submissions, I didn't even get a reply sometimes. Till a friend of mine, Chetan, read 5 chapters of the book, and without telling me, he called Westland. I don't know who he spoke to there. But then I get an email asking for the 5 chapters. I sent them that. They said, okay, it's okay, but we need to read the full manuscript. I had it ready. I sent it across to them. 2 months, I didn't hear from them. Agonizing wait. Then I get a call from an unknown number and said, we want your book, and you have a contract ready. And I thought I was done. I've made it. So now I have a publisher, and I have a contract. And out of the blue, Jeff Bezos, God bless his soul, Amazon owned Westland, and overnight he shut it down. So I get a call from my editor saying, I have this memo from the finance department where I'm supposed to sign off. This is your advance amount, and we were to start edit in another week. We can't do anything about it. You're not getting the check. Your book is not getting published because we've been shut down. But strangely enough, I still can't explain this. I have not figured it out. The first thought that came to mind is that the book is going to get published now. And I told my editor this. She got back 2 weeks later and said, see, we don't even know whether we're getting the name Westland back. And I told her immediately that is going to happen. Those were the moments where I was convinced that the book is going to come out. I don't know why. They finally regrouped, reformed, and they had this whole backlog of authors that they had to publish, so I had to wait 1.5 years before my book came out. And they were very kind to me. They gave me a pre-order. Usually, new authors don't get this. And I did not know what the first print run was. I got to know 2 days before the book came out. They told me 8,000 copies, and I was simply taken aback. They added 2 more before the book came out, and thanks to people like you, it was sold out in 2 days. That was... It was an incredible turn of events. A lot of people that I have to thank, Chetan. Nowadays, an author is also expected to do his own publicity. The publisher doesn't take care of everything. So the only person I could turn to was a superstar. Priya's husband, my brother-in-law, Sudeep. So I went and asked him, can you tweet about the book? And he's got this particular look that he gives me, especially when I say something stupid. So he just gave me the look and I said, you know what, you just leave it to me, I'll take care of it. It's because of the publicity that he gave the book. He got Ritesh Deshmukh to release the teaser you just saw, which is why a lot of people got to know about the book, which is why a lot of people went there and purchased it. So the success of the book is not just mine. It's a whole lot of kind, large-hearted people helping me in this cause. But despite all this, I wouldn't be standing here today if it was not for people like you, people who have bought the book and read it, who are still reading it, who have bought it but not read it, who intend to buy it, all of you all. Thank you so much. This event, to my mind, is not a meet and greet of the author. It is an opportunity for the author to personally thank all of you all. To express my immense gratitude for your patronage. It's been a privilege and an honor to come here Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to the fantastic book club. It couldn't have been held at a better place than this, so prestigious. Thank you all for coming. I think we have a Q&A after this. I'll answer your questions as honestly as possible. Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much, sir. That was so inspiring. I think to all of us readers who aspire to write, all of us want to be writers, trying to be writers, that journey was something we will all learn from. And I think we'll all experience at some point. So, yeah, open to the audience for any questions.
I'd first like to say congratulations, Ranjith. Fantastic subject you picked. The question I want to ask is, what made you pick this particular character? He's a very famous character, but he's not that well known, so there must have been something that triggered the thought of picking him up. Please tell us that. Thank you.
So that's a great question. I didn't think about this while I was writing the story. It was only after I finished 5 or 7 chapters that I started to ask myself, why did I choose Parashurama to write on? It's then that something struck me. From 1999 to 2003, 2004, there were a series of deaths in my family. It started with my father in 99. It ended with his mother in 2003. So there is this 13th day rite that we do, and there's this annual rite after 1 year's passed. So there's this particular temple in Trivandrum, just on the outskirts, called Thiruvallam. The deity there is Parashurama. Now, I've stayed previously in Trivandrum for 2 years. I've been to all the major temples there. Nobody even told me about this temple. I didn't know about its existence. It's only when I started doing these rites that I knew that there was a Parashurama temple there, and I realized that's the first time I'm going to a Parashurama temples are very rare. So I started reading about this character. And this particular point in the story where he's asked to behead his mother by his father. And the general narrative that's been given to us is that because he was an obedient son. That didn't sit well with me. How does a person who's committed matricide become a future Saptarishi, become an avatar? So I started reading a lot about him. Though the base story is taken from Brahmanda Purana, there is a lot of folk stories about Parashurama that people do not know. His mother, Renuka, she's called Renukamba, and she's a Kuladevi to a lot of people, I think even from Telangana, South Maharashtra, North Karnataka. That story hasn't been told. So it's when I heard about the temple in Saundatti that, something went off, and that click happened, and I said that I have to write this story. And there is more. Rama of the Axe is not a story just of Parashurama. It's about his father, Jamadagni, his mother, Renuka, Kartivir Arjuna, and his disciple, Akrita. So it's a story of 4 people, not just Parashurama. And I think a lot of the spotlight, the Dashavatara, has been taken by Sri Rama and Sri Krishna. There's a lot of people writing about them. Somewhere we missed this. And I am a Malayali, I'm a Mallu. My land is supposed to have been created by this avatar. And if I don't write about it, then who will?
But how did your first 5 chapters fit in with it?
How did my first 5 chapters?
You wrote the 5 chapters and then decided on the story.
No. I decided on writing a Parashurama, but why did I choose him was not a question I asked myself. So I was so eager to write, once I knew about Renukamba, I was so eager to write. But there has to be some psychological urge that made you pick the story. And this is what it was. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. First, let me congratulate Ms. Radhakrishnan for writing a beautiful book on the Parashurama. I have not read it, but I have read a lot of books on the Parashurama. My point is that Parashurama is considered to be the sixth avatar of Lord Vishnu or Lord Srimanarayana. And Sri Rama was the seventh avatar of the Indian mythology, right? But there is a small mention where when Lord Rama was breaking the Shiva's bow, Parashurama went and tried to attack him. I mean, how is it possible both the avatars were simultaneous, was there, or is affection? As more clarification from you, Mr. Radhakrishnan.
So there are two answers to this. The short answer is, please buy part 2 of Rama of the Axe. Because this is coming there. The long answer is, Parashurama is the only avatar who has met Sri Rama and Sri Krishna. The Sri Krishna meeting is retold in the Mahabharata. So just before the Kurukshetra war happens, there is a peace mission. And Parashurama goes along with Sri Krishna for that. And that's where you have the Nara Narayana story coming. He's the one who recounts it. We don't have any story about him meeting the 9th avatar, but we know that he will definitely meet the 10th, because he's supposed to be the guru to Kalki Bhagwan. This is the only avatar that has done that, which is one of the things that makes him unique. So what happens during the meeting and how does it resolve? Part 2, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions from our gathering? Anyone would like to ask any question, please? Anyone else? Oh, our MC wants to ask a question. Okay.
I have not one, but 10 questions, but I'll save it for later. I'll probably WhatsApp the questions to Priya. So, the biggest question I had was, it was like watching a cinematic universe when you were reading the book. And I think the scenes that you have created, the visual imagery is just stunning. And I was just telling Priya that I was lying down and reading the book. I broke into a sweat. I just sat up. The scene where Shiva is testing him. So my question is, what made you put up that visual imagery? I mean, there must have been some kind of starting point for you to understand what went through Ramabhadra to get into that state. So how did you imagine that?
I think in human history, from 2011, 2012 onwards, I don't think mankind has been bombarded with so many images as before. Digital art is available on our phones. We get WhatsApp images every day, all the good morning ones. There's so much stuff that comes to our phones, so much that's hitting us, that now when I say an ashram in a forest, somebody already has an image of it. Somebody already has created it. It's on the net. It's on all those apps. I just had to give the psychological cues to the reader for him to imagine something. It is not like writing before where you had to give long descriptions. If, for example, if there's anybody who's read Robert Jordan here, he gives you a very detailed description of the cities. He gives you a map also. I didn't need to do that, because the moment I say a jungle trail, there is a visual already available. All I needed to do was to give you some specific inputs that make you imagine the scene. As for the Mahadeva scene, frankly, I don't know how I wrote it. There are certain portions of the book where, after I'd done the plot outline and the outline for each chapter, I intended to write something in the morning, and evening when I check back, it's something else altogether. So I don't know how that happened. I think that comes with the flow of writing. I think when we are in school, we are taught to think and write. And I think that's not the right way to do it. Your thinking comes while you're writing. I think we need to break that habit of trying to form ideas of what should come out of your writing and then sit down to do that. The very act of writing sparks imagination, and that's what you should pay heed to. Unconsciously, I think I did just that, which is why it came out that way. And another reason probably would be my bhakti towards our devatas. I never intended to write Parashurama as a mortal human being who later on came to be considered as a god or an avatar. For me, it's about a mortal who became an avatar. So there is divinity in my book, there is Shraddha in my book, there is Bhakti in my book. I did not want to write him as a mere mortal. I think since this was at the back of my mind, which is why certain scenes came out that way.
Actually, you part answered the question I wanted to ask, but I'll still ask it. Which part of the book were you surprised when you were writing? And which part of the book you liked the most? Yeah.
So I think all the scenes which had divinity in it was a little bit of a surprise. Even the Chinnamasta scene didn't come out the way I actually thought I'd write it. The Dattatreya scenes also. So this was a time when I was alone at home, and I think I should credit whatever sadhana I do every day to helping me imagine that. The favorite part of the book is not in the book, it's in the teaser you just saw that said order now. So that's the favorite part.
Soumya, you had a question, right?
Hi. First of all, congrats on the book, and it was a wonderful read. So there are very few books wherein you just, as you finish the book, right, you just don't want to complete it because you get that feeling that the book is getting over. So this is one such read. So congrats on that. So my question is, there are these wonderful descriptions, as in wherever Parashurama goes into this, meditates rather. So every time he does this partition of his mind and he meditates, and the way you have beautifully described that. So I just wanted to understand, how did you even manage to perceive all that and put it into words, because it goes on a very different level altogether. It's nothing I've read in any other book so far. So I just wanted to understand from you as to how did you manage capturing that and putting that into words? It's like, yeah, thanks.
One thing that seems to have escaped popular narration of our epics is that whether it is the hero or the villain, there is some tapasya that they always undertake. And this is not just about, physical mortification or, extreme discipline and rigor, starving yourself. There is a mental side to that too. Even though the popular depiction in our movies and our serials are different, your Divyastra that's given to you is a mantra. It is not an arrow or a dart that's given to you. It's usually depicted that way because they're showing you a battle. And obviously he's going to be using a weapon. So that mantra is invoked into that projectile that he's using then. The potency with which you can use a particular Divyastra depends on the spiritual prowess of the invoker. Which you'll find this in the Mahabharata also. Surprisingly enough, Yudhishthira also knows the Brahmastra. But it's not as powerful as Drona's or Arjuna's, despite him being Dharmaraja. So there is a spiritual angle to this in almost all our stories. This hasn't come out because mostly people write of them as human beings. So you want the divinity there. We have so many rituals, so many paths towards the divine. And almost all of them have chosen this, usually Kshatriyas in their quest for weapons. But there's a term that's used for Parashurama called Brahma Kshatriya. And that's usually associated with the Varna. But if you look at that, why should only Parashurama be a Brahma Kshatriya? Krishna can be a Brahma Kshatriya. Arjuna can be a Brahma Kshatriya. But this is never used for them. It's used for only one avatar. So there had to be more than just Varna in that. So it's just a theory, an idea that came into mind that Parashurama should be a man who uses both his physical as well as spiritual prowess in a battlefield, which is why he's called a Brahma Kshatriya. And that's where that idea came from. I hope that answers it.
Namaste Ranjith, so wonderful to have you in Hyderabad. So those who don't know, we wrote together for Arya, the anthology, and his story, like Priya said, his poem actually was my most favorite, and I knew then that he was the most gifted writer I have come across.
Thank you.
So this is something you've answered a bit, but I was telling Priya this is a question I wanted to ask in depth. How much of your sadhana, if you want to share about it, feeds into your writing? And if so, do you can you delineate it as in what is hard work and what is the outcome of sadhana? And especially in this book because it has so many religious elements. So it's not just pure research. So what is inspiration through sadhana? What is come to you through sadhana? And what is pure hard work as a writer?
Okay. I would like to suggest to Hyreadabad club that next time when an author is here, please don't take questions from another author. So I don't know how to answer that actually. Because I don't have anything to compare it to. I started writing only after the sadhana started. So nothing was published before that, so I don't have a contrast to. I'm sure it helped. I'm sure that there was something that went into it. Like I said before, otherwise those scenes would not have come out that way. That's what I believe. It's a very personal journey, so Kavitaji, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Neha, you want? Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about your book was, you made a lot of poems or songs as part of the literature. So I wanted to ask, were they already there in the literature that you referred to and you translated, or you came up with them on your own? And the other thing is, what was the intention behind such poems? Because even in this genre, that's not very common. You don't see, so many of them. So I just wanted to ask, did you write them on your own, and also what was the intention in making poems as part of the...
Okay, thank you for the question. They were not part of the original. You don't find them in the Puranas at all. As Indians, we are so used to music around us. Even today, whether if it is a Telugu film industry or any other film industry, even if it's an action or a horror movie, you have a song. Why? Nobody knows, but there's a song. We have a song for every occasion. For every rasa, for every bhava, we have a song. Why don't our books have it? When you read Western authors, you find them putting in tavern songs and all this. You never find it in Indian literature, especially in English. In the regional literature, you may find some. I actually wrote the songs of this book before I attempted that poem. It's because I had the confidence of writing this that I even attempted a narrative poem in Arya. I think the song should be there in the book too. I mean, tomorrow if somebody is reading it, I like to convey a message through the poem. Sometimes that's conveyed more beautifully and more and better rather than prose. And I think, I don't know how many of you all will agree with me, modern poetry just sucks. there's no rhyme or reason why they're putting the words in there. They seem to assume that the denser the meaning is and the more out of the way the meaning is, that makes it better poetry. That's not how it should be. I wanted to correct that also a bit to whatever extent I could, which is why I included the songs. And we have a Bhagavad Gita, no? We don't have a Bhagavad Samhita, we have a Bhagavad Gita, which is why I chose the songs in the poem.
Any other questions or can? Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I have a question. As per our Indian mythology, Lord Vishnu is supposed to have incarnated himself in 10 forms, what we call Dasharavatar. Beyond these 10 avatars, there are plenty of avatars that have not been notified to the people.
True.
As the Parashurama was the 6th incarnation, just now you told me that he is mortal to start with, later on he became avatar.
Yeah.
If he is a mortal, how should I think that he can give a company to Rama and Krishna, propose to think himself to give company to Kalki? So kindly clarify this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, different people have categorized avatars in different forms. Now, Krishna is considered to be a Purna avatara. All 16 kalas are supposed to be in Sri Krishna. There is a theory that Parashurama is only an Amsha avatara. It's not a full avatara at all. It's only an Amsha of Mahavishnu that's come into him. There is no story that narrates that he was aware that he was an avatara from the time of birth. There is also the story about that encounter with Sri Rama where he gives up his tejas to Sri Rama so that Sri Rama becomes a Purna avatara. It's not there in all versions of Ramayana, but there is a Vishwarupa to Sri Rama also. And that is supposed to have been revealed to Vishwamitra, Vashishta and Parashurama once this exchange happens. This is a very complicated topic because people can get offended if I say Parashurama is only an Amsha avatar or somewhere lesser than the others. So I left it to the reader to judge. I've written the story in a way that there is both Amsha and there is an avatar also. So you pick whichever you want. Thank you.
Ranjith, one more question.
Sure.
According to this dating, and Nilesh Oak has done that, Ramayana is 11,209 BC.
Yeah.
And Mahabharata is 5,561 BC.
Yeah.
Almost 6,000 some years difference. And you're talking about Kalki avatar that is yet to come.
Yeah.
And we're talking about another maybe 10,000 years or 9,000 years. It's a very, very long lifespan.
Yeah.
There are people who are, I believe, have the siddha of living long lifespans. We hear about them.
Yeah.
But how much have you found in your research for writing this book that Parashurama really lived that long? Or was it different people who have given the same name and connected that way?
Yeah. Sir, in my story, I have stuck to the mythological framework where people do live for thousands of years. But I do know of the other concept that, Vashishta was a title that was carried on probably by his progeny or his disciples. It can work both ways, but if you look at Ramayana, Janaka was not the actual name of Sita's father. That was a title. Every king of Mithila was called Janaka. I think his name was Siradhwaja or something. I don't know if that's right. So when you have a narrative that gives a same name to different people, and then you say that Vishwamitra lived for 2,000, 2,500 years, which one do you choose? So I can either go the way of historical fiction and tell them that, this was a title that was carried on by people of maybe the same sampradaya, or I can go the mythological way where I say that they actually lived for thousands of years. So I chose the latter. Yes.
Can we move on to the next part? They say the best way to thank an author is to write a review. So we open this forum for people who have read the book, maybe a couple of them who have their reviews on hand to tell our author so that there is good feedback given to the author. Yeah. Anybody from the audience?
Thank you, but I need to clarify one thing, just one line. My sister said something about suspicious interest and all that stuff. Please don't miss it. It was wholesome interest only. There was nothing suspicious about it.
We have Monisha here.
No, I'll use that. Hello everyone. I'm an Alpa Prani to review the story of Rama of the Axe. But I'll try my best to give my viewpoint of the storytelling and the penmanship of the author to the best of my ability. So the absolute clarity from the author's side in the ideas and the way they were put across in an impeccable manner is the first point I would like to actually talk about. Right in the first chapter, with the Barasinga and the forest and the description which was given, you can actually smell the forest and you can feel the mist. This is just one example I can give. And the chapter where there's the battle happening, it actually gives you goosebumps. The very well edited work and the subtle imagery you get of Harry Potter, Stranger Things, and Alien, my viewpoint of course, was very interesting. The only con, if I could, which I found was a lack of a glossary and a map, but he clarified about the map. And lastly, because of his love for poetry, which he has, I have a small poem for him. Work of a would have been unknown author if he was not my buddy's brother. I started the work with trepidation, which then turned into a revelation. And it transformed into a revelation. And now I am a fan, Mr. Ranjith Radhakrishnan.
Thank you for that wonderful review. One more? Anybody? Somebody? The sister. Does the sister want to review? No, Okay, I have a small review written, not too wordy. So as a reader, I was drawn by the powerful visual imagery of what you created, which I already told you. The storytelling was fluid and it drew me right in, and I was rooting for Ramabhadra and a sense of purpose in his life and in his world. The book also introduced some new vocabulary to me, for which I had to reach out to the dictionary now and again. So I would say reading this book was a learning experience as well. So it makes us all actually, if you read the book, it will make us all remember to carry the immense fortitude that our legends hand us in this world. And we have to be grateful for the stories that abound in our wise ancient land. So thank you for telling us your story. So this interaction needs a fitting finale. How better to do it than inviting the wind beneath Mr. Ranjith Radhakrishnan's wings, his wonderful mother, Mrs. Radhakrishnan, from whom he got his love for stories and mythology, his beautiful wife Radhika, his cherubic son Ishan, and his gorgeous sister Priya. Please come on stage. We request the beautiful family to present a little memento on behalf of our book club to the author.
I guess all good things have to eventually come to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my immense pleasure to deliver the event's vote of thanks. I would like to first thank and congratulate the very historic club, the Hyreadabad Club, on its 145th anniversary and allowing us to host such a meeting of the minds. I would like to thank the author, Mr. Ranjith Radhakrishnan, for taking out his time and sharing his contagious passion with us. Let's not take away anything from our gracious hosts, Ranjini and Avni, for their electrifying enthusiasm as well. I would also like to thank Priya for coming forward and giving our book club the opportunity to host such a great mind. I would also like to thank the dignitaries for gracing us today with their presence and words of encouragement, and we hope to keep doing events like this in the near future as well. I would like to thank all my fellow club members and my close friend and brother Vineet. When Vineet asked me first to help him with the book club, I was like, why is he asking me? I'm the bookworm in the class. I've been reading textbooks all my life as an engineer. But I could just not say no to him. And well, the rest is modern history, I guess. Lastly, I would like to thank the audience for their patience, their really great questions, and their attention. I thank one and all present for sharing their time with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And anyone wants a signed copy of the book, just let me know. We will arrange it at a later stage because you're not supposed to sell it in the premises of the club. So we have consciously avoided that part of it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Really love this. Thank you. Super. Fantastic. Whose idea was this?
I'll make you